All right, guys, here I am. So sorry about earlier. I don't normally plan videos out. I'm not like, all right, at the 30-minute mark, I'm going to say dildo. Doesn't matter what I'm saying. But right at that point, I'm going to say something about a dildo. And it'll be funny. Especially if it's like out of context. If I'm like talking about something serious, I'm like, yeah. Then I got stabbed by a dildo. So what? I don't normally do stuff like that, right? Sure, right? That's what they all say. Hey, bro. Yeah, I'm not like that, bro. I don't normally do stuff like this. I'm just doing it because I'm stoned, fool. But this particular story, a major development's about to happen, right? So, I was in my mind, I'm like, all right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a video, and it's mostly going to be like filler, where it's just like me pretty much describing what the day-to-day monotony is like when you're in the hole. I've done a lot of hole time, and that may not seem like a big deal to people that haven't been in the hole, but it's pretty fucking inhumane. Let's be completely honest with it, kinda. Didn't make sense, but I'm gonna be completely honest with you, kinda. I said, my girl said that to me today. I was like, what the fuck? Why are you talking like that? She's like, hey, fool, I don't really like the way you're getting at me right now, dog. I said it just like that. I was like, damn. It's pretty much gonna be weird when we have sex tonight. And you're talking like a fucking essay. Oh my god, that coffee's wrong coffee. That's like some cold ass shit. That was crazy. But I wanted to kind of, do the filler stuff. Not filler, just kind of like I always say this. Illustrate what it's like to actually be confined to that small of a space. What the day-to-day life is. Not everybody that watches my videos has been to jail or been to prison, and I'd imagine that that's of interest to people because it's a weird thing. Not everybody goes to prison. In fact, prison is a pretty dirtbag thing to have done. If you're like having a conversation with a stranger, they're like, yeah, I'm from Nantucket, and well, when I was in my mid-30s, I went to college in Wisconsin, and I got a political science degree, and now I'm married to some ugly bitch. You're like, I've been to prison. They're like, oh. Have you ever had sex with someone from the same sex? Isn't it funny that, like, normal people always, like, that's what they want to know. Like, well, how much queer shit did you do in there? And you're like, it's the first fucking thing you ask? And that's what a lot of people ask. It's weird. The answer is quite a bit. Every day. Every day I was hustling in there. God, I'm all over the place right now. But that's why I do these little introductions. And you know what? For the people that don't like them, I'm sorry. I have to do it. If I don't, I'm not on, Not on. This is like the foreplay for my butt fucking. My video butt fucking. It's a metaphor for butt fucking. And then, like I said, something major was going to happen. So I just wanted you to, all right, well, what's the point of this video? Oh, holy shit, that's crazy. This is the best video ever. I'm going to go fund me that guy. I'm going to go fund me that guy. I'm going to go fund that guy. That doesn't sound appropriate. Hey, fool, I'm trying to go fund you. I'm going to say that to someone. I don't know. Probably someone I don't know. Okay, let's get into the story. But anyway, yeah, I was like in the middle of it, and I like went to adjust the phone, and then it just went off. I was like, oh fuck, are you serious? And that's after the flurry of like fucking death threats that I get now from Patreon, guys, because that's like push notifications that comes up. It really affects me too. Some of the stuff you guys say is just kind of mean. All right, let's get into the story. You're mean. Isn't that how I sounded right then? Sometimes I say stuff and then after I'm like, oh fuck. Whew, sound soft again. All right, let's get into the story. So, where I was going last time is, I just done a bunch of meth. I'm with this guy in my cell that just was annoying me, although I did get a CD player, so I was able to tune him out. And, it was getting to the point where it was the holidays, right? So I'd done Thanksgiving, and now we're coming up on Christmas. Now, I've done Christmas more times than I can count while I'm locked up. And when you're in prison, you usually have access to the radio. During Christmas, all the radio stations bombard you with Christmas music, which is so depressing. You're like listening to Jingle Bell Rock, and you're like, watching some, toothless gang member doing sign language about somebody owing them, nacho cheese or something. It doesn't really go together, not Christmas music and shit like that. But it always kind of gets you in a funk when you're in prison, the oldie stuff. But I'm not saying everybody had a good childhood. I had a good childhood. I have no reason that I became such a rabid junkie. I don't. Nothing. I have no reason, which makes it worse. Just a selfish drug addict. Like some people have really bad childhoods. They get molested, like their parents hang themselves in front of them or some horrible, unspeakable thing. And that makes sense. Okay, well, you turned out to be a junkie, And then you don't even you're not even mad at people like that. You're just like, oh man, at least you became a junkie and not a serial killer. Then there's people like me, spoiled little brats. Nothing bad happened. I just tried crack and I was like, bomb. I don't even care about my life anymore. You can have it. And so nobody feels bad for me because I'm just a selfish piece of shit, right? So when I'm in prison and Christmas songs start coming on the radio, it depresses me because it reminds me of the time in my life before I deviated, right? Before I became what I am now. The guy with Monopoly guys snorting blow off chicks' assholes and wearing shirts that say no heroin. You couldn't get away with that if you weren't a real drug addict. There are posers like that. There's nothing worse than the poser drug addict, right? Dude, I had it so bad, fool. One time I had to borrow money from my friend Mario, bro, and I didn't pay him back. Ever. They're like, and then what happened? Did he kill your sister or something? No, I just lost that friendship. I don't want to talk about it. And you're like, what the fuck? It's not a consequence. Fuck that fool. I'm a bad person. All right, so basically I'm depressed. Okay, it's Christmas time at Centinella. I'm right by Mexico. So not only are you getting Christmas songs, but you're getting them in Spanish too. You're having memories of some happy Mexican childhood that you didn't even have. And you're just like, fuck. I'm depressed in Spanish too? Sucks. And then Chubb starts making alcohol. And I think we were getting into that when the video cut off before. So, as I was saying, because I remember saying this, they trip on alcohol. They trip, and they should trip. That's the one thing where I'm like, okay, all right. There's no point to make violent men angry and more violent, right? I don't know. I mean, it's kind of a toss-up. I'd kind of rather have guys drunk than on meth. Methed out inmates are just, they're way out, man. So they enforce these rules, right? I mean, if you get caught making, you're going to get 6 months added onto your sentence. He swore up and down that if he got caught, he'd take the blame. Okay. What am I going to say? Oh, no. I didn't smell the fermenting fruit that probably stinks for a 700-yard radius. Alcohol, it's loud. It stinks. It's fermenting alcohol. You have to burp it. You have to constantly open it. And then you have to let all the gassy gas. I'm a descriptive guy. You have to let all the gas out because it bloats the bag. You get rid of it, and then it expands again. But when that gas comes out, it stinks. It's like farting liquor stench. And there's a really good chance that you'll get caught. Because, the cops in prison, they walk rounds. They walk. Every hour they walk. And they look in your cell. I got caught jerking off like that when I ate a domino piece of a greeting card that had been doused in crystal meth. So what? So that was like a cause of contention between him and I. You know, the guy annoyed me anyway, but now he's making alcohol, and I'm just like... Now, finally, one day, they call me to use the phone. Now, at this point, I hadn't talked to Karina in probably 3 weeks. The last time I used the phone, it was really hot. But guess what? We got air conditioning now. Oh, yes. There we go. Woo, it's hot. All right. Last time I tried to use the phone, a Southsider had literally chased me from one side of the unit all the way up to the stairs. I made it up to the cell, and like the cop like barely pressed the button, and like I like narrowly escaped. It was pretty much like Indiana Jones if Indiana Jones was a bitch. Because that's what I felt like. I was like, oh my god, he might beat me up. He probably would have killed me though. This guy was huge. And so that was the first time I used the phone. So now, they call me to use the phone again. And I hadn't talked to her for... And this is exactly what had happened to me at Victorville, right? I could have easily checked in once I'd gone back to the hole. Could have. But I wanted to save my reputation. Leave on good terms. So I go back out to the yard. They think I check in. Just really think about that's how stupid certain inmates can be. Especially guys that are like running the yard. I mean, you're not dealing with the brightest bulbs in the box. You know? You're not. I mean, like, super smart people tend not to go to prison for 20 years at a time. They usually, you know, elude law enforcement attention. So these guys are just a bunch of bumbling morons. And I get out and they think, oh, man, he was in the hole, now he's not in the hole. I don't know, but I think we should beat him up. And that's exactly what happened. They got beat up. And one of those guys is a fucking chomo. I'm going to put his information on here. I'm going to like make an entire video about this. Put his picture on there. Put him out there. Even have the girl's dad come on the show and talk about how he's a chomo. Because he deserves to be put out there. But that's neither here nor there. I'm not a vindictive guy. But this motherfucker, man. It's like, how are you going to beat me up and call me a piece of shit when you're out there fucking a 13-year-old girl? It's like the lowest of the low, right? But part of the reason that I'd gone back out to the yard at Victorville was because I wanted to talk to Karina. I missed her. You know, when you're doing time, your significant other and your son, your parents, you know, family, these are the most, these have so much, I don't want to say more importance, you know, because these people are just as important to me now that I'm out here. But you know, they're like one of the only true sources of happiness when you're doing time. I guess that's the best way to put that. So at Victorville, I was willing to leave the shoe, go back to the yard, even though I knew that it might, I mean, basically I signed up to get beat up. I'm like, yeah, I'll go in a cell and get beat up so I can talk to my baby mama. And then I could like tell her that. I'll be like, yeah, got a tooth knocked out so I could talk to you. So what? You know? In this time, that first, you know, the first time that I got chased, I mean, that was scary. It's petrifying. And you can thump your chest as much as you want. Be like, dude, if I was there, I would have fought, bro. No, you wouldn't. You wouldn't do that. Maybe you would, I don't know. Most people wouldn't, though, for real. If you'd seen this guy, you'd be like, oh my god. Looked like you were, like, fighting a video game boss or something, you know? You, like, don't even have, like, any of your special powers. You're just, like, the bitch generic video game character that you start out with. You, like, you know? Alright, anyway. What? So when they called me to use the phone again, in my mind, I was frustrated living with dude. I'd been on a meth little couple day thing. I was depressed. The guy's cooking alcohol in my cell. I'm listening to Kendrick Lamar Damn album like over and over and over again. I'm starting to talk black. You know what I mean? Know what I'm saying? Chubb's like, why do you talk like that, bro? You know, I'm like, I don't know. I'm gonna stop now. So I was frustrated with everything. I was like, you know what, fucking, I'm gonna go out. So I did. So I end up going to the, you have to go to the podium, and you like the cops assign you to a phone. So there's 4 phones. There's 2 on like this side of the unit. Then there's the opening. And so then there's another 2 phones that you can't even see because I'm on the side with these 2 phones. The last time when I almost got beat up by the Sereno, I was on one of those far phones. So I had to go into this little like kind of blind spot area. I was so frustrated with like just being cooped up in this cage and everything else that was going on. I didn't even really have fear that time, you know? I just was like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm gonna get beat up. It's worth it just to hear my girl breathe. Become that kind of guy. Like, I just want to smell your hair. I don't even care if I get hurt. Then you get cuffed. You're like, what? I love her. They're like, shut up, weirdo. It's probably not that funny. But, so I leave the cell. Cop tells me where to go. Again, exact same phone where I'd gotten in the incident last time. So I go, and I didn't have fear when I walked out of my cell, but as soon as the cop told me that I was going into that blind spot, the old heart went. I was like, fuck. And I'm kind of like looking around. And now you're seeing all these inmates, right? So there's rows of cells upstairs. It's like a double-tiered unit, right? Modern prison layout. Double-tiered unit. There's probably, I don't know, 150 cells in this unit. And maybe 80 of them are occupied by this SNY 3 yard, but the rest of them is the orientation. It's general population sprinkled with some SNY. So you're like walking to the phone and you look up and you see all of these eyes just studying you. Probably someone beating off. You know, you see like a mime. It's like pressing his little mime face against the glass. Because there's like this glass, windows like this big. If you ever see like a racquetball court, a lot of time racquetball court have these weird prison window things, if you know what I'm talking about. So I'm kind of like looking up and I'm looking at everybody watching me. I really felt like I was in some like 1980s like, prison movie or something, like Blood In, Blood Out or American Me, or, it felt like I was on some stage and all these inmates were like the audience, like waiting for the main event, like some Southsider could pop out at any moment and come attack me. And that's the kind of shit that you're thinking about when you're walking to the phone. It's almost in slow motion. Anytime that I've been in like an accelerated state of fear like that, it feels like slow motion. You're almost dizzy by blinders. You just can kind of only see like the path that you're walking on. So I get to the phone and I call Karina and she doesn't pick up. Now, of course, I'm like, fucking whore. She's cheating on me. She had no idea I was going to be calling then. I mean, what's she supposed to do? Wait by the phone 24 hours a day for me? And she just had a kid, our kid, probably busy doing motherly shit. So I try one more time, right? I call again. She picks up this time. And I'm like, oh, thank God. I'm like, hey, what were you doing? And she's like, oh, sorry. I was playing with Nico. And I was like, all right. She's like, how are you? And I was like, I'm good. She's like, really? Are any riots cracking off? I was like, I don't know. I haven't been leaving the cell. She's like, oh my God, babe. What do you do all day? I was like, well, I mean, I'm listening to a lot of Kendrick Lamar. She's like, yeah, you're talking black. I'm like, am I really? She's like, no, I love you. I was like, all right. So we're talking, and I end up seeing Pretty Big Southsider. Same fucking thing as last time, except last time the guy was already on the phone. So I see him walk up. He's eyeing me the whole time. And see, that's just the climate of Centinella at that time, right? Everybody's suspicious of each other. Even if you're GP, you're suspicious of SNY. If you're SNY, you're suspicious of GP. If you're secretly gay, you want to suck off GP and SNY at the same time. You don't even care. But everybody's just suspicious of each other, right? So this guy's eyeing me, and he's probably, I don't know, 5'8", 5'9", I'm 5'6", so everybody looks taller than me. I'm a fucking midget. And he's just kind of like giving me that look, and I just can't really read it. I don't know if he feels threatened by me, probably not. I don't know if he wants to attack me, probably. But it's really hard to pay attention to Karina while I'm looking at this guy, because I'm just kind of like watching him while I'm on the phone. She's like, "Are you paying attention to me?" I'm like, "Yeah, I am." So, and she's like, "Okay, well, you know, I'm going to my sister's and we're going to do a barbecue." And I'm just like, "Okay, She's like, "Did you get the pictures that I sent?" And I'm like, "No." And I'm like trying to be polite to her because I never get to talk to her. And I was so excited to be able to talk to her. But as soon as the Southsider came, it just completely killed the vibe. You know, my heart's, it's like the kind of thing where you can see your heart pulsating out of your shirt. It's like, doo-doo, doo-doo, doo-doo. I see the guy go up to the phone. So now he picks it up. I'm just sitting there. Dials his number. Karina's talking to me. Same thing must have happened to him because I see him hang the phone up, try again. Hang the phone up, try again. He's getting like noticeably more angry every time that somebody's not picking up the phone. It almost looks like a thermometer. Like a little like red is like rising, but it's his anger. You can see it in his face. And finally, he's not going to get through to anybody, you know, and you can just tell. But I think the guy didn't want to like be embarrassed because I know that, because he was living on the other side. So we're both housed on this side where those first two phones are. Then there's an entrance, then there are these other two phones. So the only people that can see us as far as inmates in their cell are people that are on that SNY 3 yard. But he had like friends on our orientation side. So he just kind of sat there, you know, underneath the phone because the cops can't see us. We're like in a blind spot. I'm talking to Karina. It's like impossible to pay attention because I'm almost bracing myself because I know the guy's going to attack me. You know, I'm like, I'm really tense. I'm tightening up. And when you get to the end of a 15-minute call, you know, the operator comes on and she's like, "You have 1 minute. I hate that bitch, but, you know, it's just part of calling people from prison. 15-minute call. The last minute of that call, they tell you that it's time to go. Now, that was probably like the longest minute of my life, you know? And it was always like really, you know, disgusting, faggy, love-drunk stuff. Where, "I love you, baby. I love you more. I love you the most. We love you the most. We love you the most times 7. We love you till in times infinity." I'm like, if a cop's listening in on this, they're probably vomiting. Really like crazy shit, right? The phone goes dead, right? And I have it in my hand, and I'm like, all right, I'm just gonna keep. Now these phones are like programmed where you can only get one phone call at a time. But I'm like, my whole plan is to pretend like I'm talking on the phone. Now, probably wondering like how far away this Southsider is from me. Say he's probably about 10 feet away from me. So he can like hear me, but you can only hear talking. You can't tell exactly what somebody's saying. So I just start talking to myself, pretending that I'm still talking to Karina. I'm like, "Yeah, you know, yeah, I've been working out. I can do 10,000 push-ups in one day now. Yeah, I could fuck up anyone. Mexican, black, or white. I don't even care. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Hey, babe. Can you send me a copy of my jiu-jitsu black belt certification? Yeah. The guys around here don't believe I actually have it. Oh, maybe some of my Navy SEAL credentials? I don't know. I'm not really saying shit like that, but I'm pretending like I'm having a conversation with her, right? Guy's just looking at me. So he went from like trying to make a phone call, nobody's picking up, to him sitting like crouched down with his back against the wall, looking angry, you know, and I'm talking to myself and I'm just saying ridiculous shit, you know. I don't remember what I was saying, but it was probably like, honey, who's your favorite Batman? Mine's Michael Keaton. Really? That's stupid. Oh, he said that? Oh, you didn't say that. He said that? Probably sounded so much more. If I wasn't going to get beat up before, shit that I was saying was definitely going to get me there. And like I said, my theory is that this guy is sitting crouched down because he's embarrassed that he has nobody to call, right? All right. So anyway, as I'm talking to myself, he gets up. He starts walking towards me, and I'm like, oh, here we go. So I'm grabbing the phone, because this is like one of those old payphone style phones, right? So it's like pretty heavy. I mean, you hit somebody in the face with it, it's going to hurt more than my little fragile fist. It seems to break if I fucking knock too hard on a door or something. The worst hands. I remember shaking them one time, and someone's like, those are some soft hands. They feel womanly. I was like, what kind of shit is that to say? And they're like, I'm just kidding, brother. Nice to meet you. I was like, oh my God. Fucking predator, man. So he walks up to me. I have it clenched. Now he puts his hand... Okay, so he's wearing a blue jacket. So when we're in orientation, we had... I believe they were jumpsuits. They were either jumpsuits. No, I think we did get blue scrubs. So we had blue scrubs, and then you could go to, you went to laundry and they would give you, you know, different pairs of socks, boxers and all that. But one thing they did give you on top of that was a blue jean jacket that said California, or CDC on it, California Department of Corrections. And so some people had these Levi jackets. They looked really hardcore. You felt like you're in a Snoop Dogg video or something. And he had one of those jackets on and a beanie, right? And so he puts his hand into this jacket. And I'm like, oh my God, he's going to pull out a knife and he's going to stab me. That's what's going to happen. So I had this thing clenched and I'm, you know, who knows what I'm saying. I'll be like, you know, I don't remember what kind of fake conversation I was having with her. It's probably some like, yeah, well, I'm thinking about when I get out of here, I might move to Berlin and start doing male modeling. I don't know. They kind of don't want me in there because I beat too many Mexican dudes up. Oh, what? Hey, man, how you doing? And he just pulls something out of his pocket, but I can't see what it is. Now, at this point, I kind of like, I step back, but I hold the phone so that I have a range of motion so that I can fucking whack him with it if need be. Pull something out of his pocket, but I can't really tell what it is. And he's like, hey, is your name White Boy? I was like, I'm holding the phone, so I'm like, White Boy? No. But I am a white boy. He's like, your name's not Gavacho? I was like, oh, Gavacho? I was like, yeah, I mean, people used to call me that in the feds. What's up? He's like, hey, that's for, I said some name, I don't remember what it was. He's like, that's from, you know, Papa Smurf G or whatever the fuck it was. Hands me a kite. So it's this little like scrolled up piece of paper. And it's got like plastic around it. Now the reason they put plastic, like, and it's like a plastic bag, so it's like kind of looks like a drug sack or something. The reason it's like that is because people sometimes carry that in their asshole, so it's ready to go. I mean, a lot of guys that make kites are very, very like meticulous with it because they have nothing better to do. So he gives me the kite, and he's like, you know, I was waiting until you got off the phone so that I won't be disrespectful, but then I kind of figured that you were having a fake call. So here you go, dog. For Gavacho. Oh. All right. Hey, babe. I like couldn't get out of character. Hey, babe, I gotta go. Yeah. No, there's a Southsider here. Seems nice. I gotta go. Bye. Love you too. I was like, thanks. I'm Ryan. Went to go, you know, stick my hand out to shake his hand, and he just walked away. Now, I can't tell you the kind of relief that gave me. Gave me some, it's like having weight on your shoulders, and then it just instantly dissipates. You know, my heart, like, just, it was going down to, like, it was like some early 1980s hip-hop beat or something, you know, some, like, really whack one. It's like, you know, I don't know. Sorry, guys. I can't do it. Can't say funny shit every time I say something. So this guy ends up going back. I don't know, wherever he had come from. He was in orientation with me. I was so relieved, though, that this guy didn't attack me. So, you know, when you're done with your phone call, you walk back to your cell. And the cops are at this podium in the center. So I'm walking past, and the cop's like, "Hey, Leone, you want to take a shower?" He's like, "I noticed that you haven't showered. You know, everybody else has been showering, but you haven't. What's up?" And I was like, "Oh, you know what, man? I'm just taking bird baths in my cell." He's like, "No, Leone, you got to go shower." I was like, "All right." I was like, "Is anybody else taking their showers right now?" And he's like, "No, Leone." Probably thought I was just such a little girl, you know? So I end up going to my cell, and he's like, "Hey, grab your cellie, too." So, I go back in there, and Chubbs is in there. I'm like, "Hey, he says that he wants us to go shower." He's like, "Well, obviously the dude wants to hit our cell." I didn't even think of that. I'm like, oh, you know, I didn't even think about the fact there was alcohol in there. Sorry, I was really thirsty. So I'm like, "Well, that's a good point. What do you want to do?" And he's like, "Well, fuck, man." He's like, "What'd you tell him?" And I said, "I'd grab you." He's like, "Here, grab your stuff, go shower, tell him that I'm not feeling well." I'm like, "All right, cool." So I end up getting all my stuff, get that Dove soap to scrub my butthole with, and, you know, I get a towel, take my shirt off, whatever. You know, I'm like, you walk to the shower in your boxers, and you have shower shoes, but you also have these, like, canvas shoes. Now, I've been schooled, like, being in the feds, that you never walk to the shower just wearing your shower shoes. We've talked about that a million times, because you can get, like, people, you're vulnerable if you walk to the shower in your shower shoes. So I end up putting the canvas shoes on, and I walk to the shower. Cop stops me about halfway there. It was, "Leone, what's up with your cellie?" I forget what his last name was, but I'm like, "Yeah, he's not feeling well, man." He's like, "He's not feeling well, or you guys got something in the cell you don't want me to see?" I was like, "Ooh, he's not feeling well, man. Not feeling well. But you're good." I was like trying to, like, you know, crack a joke with him, and he just looked completely like sour faced, like looked like I'd been caught butt fucking one of his pets or something, you know? And so I get in the shower. Now, the whole time I'm in it. Now, remember, I've been taking bird baths, so I haven't experienced a shower for a long time. Now, these showers in particular, there's like these, like, they're weird. They're like old, you know, like salon style, you know, where they like swing open. You could really, like, if you were into exposing yourself, this would be the shit. You could just, like, swing the saloon doors open and just, like, wiggle your dick. But, I mean, I'm not into shit like that, because I'm not a weirdo. And I have good paperwork, so. So I'm showering. The whole time I can't even really enjoy it. It's nice to take a shower after you haven't taken one for so long, when you're, like, used to taking bird baths. But the whole time that I'm showering, I'm thinking, like, man, like, this cop was not joking with me. It looks suspicious that Chubbs wasn't willing to go take a shower. They're probably going to hit our cell. I can't even enjoy the shower. So I finish, and I end up going back in the cell. And he's like, "Hey," Chubbs is like, "Hey, did he say anything?" And I'm like, I mean, he said that he thought that you not coming out of the cell meant that we probably had something in there. It's like, fuck. And, you know, he'd been to state prison a bunch of times. It's like, fuck. Someone dropped a dime on us. I'm like, I don't think anyone dropped a dime. I think it's because we're not showering. It looks weird. I don't know. I haven't showered for like a month. Dude probably thinks, I don't know what he thinks. He's like, he probably thinks we're making alcohol in here like we are. I was like, whoa. We? I said, you're making alcohol, bro. I got a kid to go home to. I'm not getting busted for you making alcohol. So I'm going to give you some, aren't I? I said, well, yeah, but get one thing straight. I'm not making this shit with you. He's like, yeah, I already told you that. I'm like, all right, whatever. So I end up looking at the kite. I don't tell Chubbs about it. I just kind of like, I didn't want to open it until, you know, I was done showering. I didn't even know that I was going to be showering. So I end up opening it, and it's from this guy. Oh, fuck, man. What was his name? I think his name was Grinch. Like, from the Grinch That Stole Christmas. Yeah, and it was Christmas time, so it was kind of ironic. That wasn't even his... Oh, Grimes. His name was Grimes. Grimes. There we go. Knew it was something GR. So, there's this guy named Grimes, and he was SNY. He wrote me this, like, long-ass letter. It was obvious that he was probably, you know, for sure high on crystal meth. And what he was telling me is that he was part of the 2-5ers. So, 2-5ers are PC gang. Yes, there are PC gangs. They go around snitching on people and sexually offending. There weren't any sex offenders at this place, but 2-5ers are, there's a number of PC gangs. You know, if you watch, there's like, you know, locked up shows where you can see them. There's 2-5ers, Northern Riders, Green Lighters, GBG, Gay Boy Gangsters. That's a real thing. I never ran into any of those guys, but I know that, like, if you're like on a straight up SNY yard, there really are GBG guys. I don't know how you get into a gang like that. You probably have to like get gangbanged or something while you're like throwing up their signs or whatever. All right. Sorry, Al Prophet just texted me. I don't know what he's talking about. No, I'll call you back, Al, in case you're watching. And basically, what these gangs are is when you go SNY, when you're PC like that, you've dropped out, right? And the real problem with dropping out isn't going SNY. That's not what the problem is. When you're a dropout, you have to debrief. So you basically have to provide information to the cops about the gang that you're dropping out from. It's like their deal. Well, we'll protect you, but you have to give us information about the gang. So the guys that are dropouts are like not usually trustworthy guys, because really they're like 90% of them are snitches. So what happened is they're so used to gangbanging that once they get to the other side, they go to SNY, they do the PC thing, they start forming their own gangs. We've talked about this. They're like interracial hit squads, like the Village People, and they perform. They tour the state system performing. Okay, anyway. And so this guy was telling me that he was a 2-5er, this guy Grimes. And what he was saying is that they were trying to get their numbers up because there was this huge, you know, bus full of Southsiders that they knew was coming. So this guy was like a real deal, like super serio PC gang member. And he was saying that he wanted to get their numbers up before this big bus had gotten there. And he's like, look, he's like, we want you to be in our SNY gang because you have colored tattoos and we think you're probably a bitch. No, they knew that I hadn't left the cell for a month. And they're like, look, I know you haven't been coming to chow. I know it can be scary here because nobody knows who's who, but you know, you're already no good. We don't know what your status was before you got here, but you're no good now anyway, so you may as well join the 2-5ers. If you're interested, send us a kite back. You can give it to Chewy. It's not even something I considered even for a second, right? I was like, okay, what am I gonna do? Get out of prison and like tell my homeboys, hey, you'll never guess what I did while I was away this time. What's that, Ryan? Well, I joined a PC gang called the 2-5ers. It's bomb, homeboy. It's bomb. There's some good dudes right there. You know, I'm first of all, I'm 33 at the time. I'm not going to join a fucking gang. That's what I'm not going to do. You know, the whole point of programming, being on a mixed yard, walking the line, not giving a fuck, being celled up with an SNY guy, not leaving my cell, feeling like a straight up broad so I could get home to my kid. Joining a gang was not even something that was like something I would consider. So I don't even respond. So things keep going as normal, right? Chewy ends up coming up to me maybe like 2 days later. right? I think like one more riot kicked off. The big bus load full of Southsiders that Grimes was telling me about in the Kite it hadn't come yet. Now, Chewy comes up to me. He's like, hey man, can I get at you for a second? He was like the most polite convict I've ever talked to. Hey man, excuse me. Hey, listen, brother. There's a big busload full of actives coming in, and we're all a bit worried about it. We heard about 80 of them are coming in, and well, Grimes he's really wanting you to join the 2-5ers so that they can count on you, and he'll protect you until you go. How does that sound? I was like, Chewy, let me tell you something. I'm not going to do that. And I explained to him why. Chewy's like, I don't know if Grimes is going to like that. I was like, I don't give a fuck. I don't even know that guy. And I'm not joining a PC gang, dude. I don't even consider myself PC. No, I shouldn't be on this side to begin with. I'm unfairly targeted. So Chewy, ends up leaving. So, typical fights going on at Chow, whatever. So I ended up getting another Kite. And it's from Grimes again. So now, the first time they were all nice and everything, and now they're like, all right, if you don't click up with us, then we're just going to consider you part of the active, and we're just going to be on it. We're whacking all actives on site right now. We all have knives. We're on an SMY 3. You think they're giving knives to the GP? All the knives that had gone to the GP on those first riots that we've been in, this is what he's saying in the Kite. He said it in shorter language than this. He said, those are long gone. He said, now we have all the knives. And he's like, you can either click up with us, or we're going to get you. We're going to hurt you, dog. That's what it said. I was like, what the fuck? I don't even know what this guy looked like. Grimes. When he said that, I was thinking it was like an EDM artist or something. So I end up writing my Kite back, and I was like, okay. Let's just say, hypothetically, I was going to click up with you guys. What do I need to do? Is it just me saying that I'm a 2-5er with you so I don't get fucking stabbed by you weirdos? See, that's the weirdest thing about these mixed yards. All the rules, all the conditioning from me doing time from being in the feds, from all the county jail time I've done, everything I'd ever learned was completely ass backwards now. Basically, they were trying to threaten me into joining a gang. Absurd, What neighborhood you from, dog? I'm from the Riviera of Santa Barbara. It's not a neighborhood. That's like some picturesque postcard place. And it kind of, it would make me sad to think that in a different life I came from that. And now I'm in this situation where a guy named Grimes is threatening to stab me if I don't join his PC fucking club or whatever the fuck it was. So I sent him that. I'm like, okay, well, what do I have to do? I get a Kite back, and he's telling me that I have to whack, meaning I have to stab one of the actives that comes in off the bus. He's telling me if I don't do that they're going to get me. I'm like, what the fuck? This is exactly what the fuck I don't want to be part of. What's the point of even being on a mixed yard if you have to still do this crazy-ass political shit? So now at this point, I tell Chubbs about it. I'm like, hey, man, this is what's going on. He's like, no brainer, my friend. Join the 2-5ers. Duh. I heard they're giving free tattoos, too, if you join right now. I was like, oh, cool. Sign-on bonus, dude. My PC gang tattoo. That's going to go cool. It's going to go over great when I'm running around L.A. When I'm in the beaches of L.A. and I run into some Southsiders that have 2-5er fucking on my neck. Well, I'm good on that. He's like, well, I've been one for weeks, bro. I'm like, oh my God, this is my nightmare, right? He's like, you're going to have to do it. He's like, I already have one. No, you already have one what? I already have a knife. I'm like, dude, let me get this straight. You're cooking alcohol in our cell. That could get me 6 months. Now you have a fucking shank in here. That could give us me another year. Is there anything else that you have? He's like, I have a dead pice under the bunk. I'm like, oh, okay, no, he didn't say that. But he'd had a knife and he was cooking alcohol. And now I'm like really starting to have an anxiety attack. Because now we're getting from like, kind of like minor infractions to like, I could catch a shoe term. I could do another year and a half. Easily, if not more. And now they're telling me they want me to stab somebody. That night, and by the way, so I tell Chubbs, I'm like, okay, you really think I should do that? He's like, honestly, he's like, we're about to go at war. They're going to target you. They already know who you are. They're going to target you. And I was like, well, if I can't leave the cell, what difference does it make? He's like, well, I'm leaving the cell. And if you're not with us, you're against us. All right. So anyway, all right, Chubbs. And he shows me his knife. And this is, it's fairly big. It's about that big. Metal, right? So if our cell gets hit, they have metal detectors, we're fucked. They're going to find it. It's in his mattress. So that night, a bus comes. A bus of all active GPs or whatever. And supposedly we're going to war, not at breakfast the next day. Next, of course, at breakfast, something's going to pop off. But like the real crazy shit's supposed to happen the next night at dinner. So I'm like, Chubbs and I both have like our faces against the glass. We're watching all the different inmates get off walk from the entrance, the unit, with their bed rolls. They're getting like the rundown from the lieutenant or whatever. And we're watching all of them go to their respective cells. I couldn't believe who I saw. Not the guy that I'd kicked in the face, but I see one of the dudes that had jumped me at Santa Barbara County Jail. One of the guys that was there that night that actually put hands on me when I got my ribs broken. When I got jacked for the heroin was at Santa Barbara County Jail. And I saw him. He didn't see me, but I'm looking at him. And I knew that it was him for sure because of a tattoo that he had. It was like a bear claw. It was like right here. It's unmistakably him. When I had seen him last time, he had hair. Now he had a shaved head. Of course, now he's in prison. He's all super fucking serio. Right? This is a Peckerwood, right? And he's squinting. He looks all hard. And I'm looking at him and I'm telling Chubbs, I'm like, hey, that guy jumped me when I was in county jail. And he's like, perfect. You have someone to stab. I was like, ugh. So now I have to risk seriously catching another 25 years, if not more, for killing him, or maybe 10 years for stabbing him, or getting stabbed by my own cellie, because now he's telling me that he's a 2-5er, and if I don't do it, they're going to turn on me. So I basically have to choose between stabbing this guy that had jumped me while I was at Santa Barbara County Jail, being stabbed, and risking doing more time in fucking prison. It's a wonderful place to be. And it's also a wonderful place to stop. We'll get into what happens next in the next installment of this story. Like, comment, subscribe. Check out patreon.com/Ryan Leone. I do appreciate each and every one of you. Palabra.